Welcome back, beautiful souls. I'm so excited to be with you guys today. And honestly, we have a little bit of a truth bomb that might sting a little today, but it needs to be said. So I'm going to lead with a question. What is it actually costing you to keep playing small? Because let me tell you something, the price is much higher than we make it. And if you don't name it, you keep paying it silently every single day. So, I want to start off with something very honest. Playing small doesn't feel like a failure at first. It feels safe. It feels familiar. It feels like you're just being a little realistic. But over time, it starts chipping away at you. And you wake up realizing you don't recognize the life that you're living. And it's not because you failed, but because you never really fully started. You got diluted by the waiting, by seeking permission, by trying not to take up too much space. And here's where I'm going to be very honest with you. I know this feeling because I've lived it. I spent years dimming my light. I put myself into boxes that I didn't belong in. I was working corporate and not happy about it. And over time, it was a lot of I'll start building when I have more energy. I'll start building my business when I have what I feel more security. I'll start building when I have more time. See the theme here? I was constantly waiting. But the truth is, every month I waited, I was paying in peace, my purpose, my alignment, and going back to that energy. I was not as energetic or vibrant or even as passionate in my day-to-day life. And here's the thing about that. Very truthfully, while I was working in that corporate job, I was miserable because it was so out of alignment. But I was holding on to the grounds of stability, holding on to the grounds of feeling like it was the safe way to go. You have to build on the side and then you dive into your business once it's on its own legs. And here's the thing. I had clients, but I felt like I could not actually serve them at the highest frequency because I was not all in. I was working around somebody else's schedule. So it never got built to the point that I would like to have seen it. And it almost felt more like a side piece of me rather than my full embodiment. So let's get real and name the costs. There was a mental cost to it. I was in a loop of doubt. I questioned my own worth. And there was so much imposter syndrome because I was comparing myself to people who were coaching and doing the breathwork sessions full time, going, well, they have the time and they have the clients and they have the resources. Why would anyone want a part-time coach? And there was the emotional cost of having shame, of knowing that you're meant for more, but you don't actually see it in that moment, knowing that your purpose is just so freaking far away, but you're meant for it. It's hanging on that thread, but you're not owning up to it. There was a financial cost, of course, not launching the full way, not keeping my prices and standards because I was in such a mindset of a beginner, despite all the training and the certifications and the work I've done on my own self, the results I've seen in myself and the clients I have worked with. And honestly, I was just not putting myself out there. And I really realized that recently, actually, as I was discussing what I do with a friend, and I mentioned, hey, I do breathwork. We should do a session together. And she actually literally told me, I knew you did coaching, but I did not know you did breathwork. And this is something I'm so passionate about. But if a dear friend of mine did not know that it was something I did, it made me realize how poorly I've communicated my skills and abilities in the past. So I was not putting myself out there, owning all the skills and the tools and the techniques I had under my belt. And then I was sitting wondering why I was in a lack of embodiment at that point. There was an energetic cost. Obviously, I kind of already touched on it, but there was a drain of life just feeling so misaligned. I was pretending it was fine. I was basically coasting. And for the longest time, I was in this teeter tatter of, is it me or I'm doing what I think I'm doing because there's financial stability and I'm trying to pay for a home. I'm trying to cover my expenses and be responsible. But at the same time, that lack of alignment that I was living in was honestly causing me days of not being happy, not being the full energetic self. And because I was doing something so out of alignment with my life, I would find myself drained. I would find myself not having the energy for things I wanted to do. And there was no one left to blame because I was the one who was choosing to energetically not be all in. And obviously, there was a relational cost. I was saying yes to things that I probably should have said no. I was avoiding boundaries with some of the people in my life at that point. I was not sharing my true feelings and my true expression. And on top of it, I would stay quiet for so long on things that actually mattered to me. I was not communicating my own needs. And honestly, I was also not actually being present in the sense of being able to be a advocate for myself. And going back to the corporate thing for a quick second, that job I do not have regrets about, but it taught me things about boundaries and negotiation and skills that I'm using till this day. So it's not that I have regrets, but I realized through this entire process and this journey so far that honestly, I was meant for more and I was playing it so safe. And if you look at the weight of everything combined, especially when you're not feeling aligned and you're not feeling happy in your own life, because you know there's a deep down calling in your heart to do something more, to serve at a greater level, to impact people's lives. You realize these aren't light prices. These are soul level taxes and they compound. So, where you might be playing small right now, I want you to pause here for a moment and ask yourself, where are you still negotiating with your power? Where are you downplaying your voice, your gifts, your impact? Because I have to go ahead and touch on something. And it was a mentor of mine. He, a few weeks ago, had asked, when did you give up on your dream? And I remember sitting there, listening to that question and letting it hit. Because you don't think that you've given up on your dream, you rationalize. I'll get there when I do X. I'll take the plunge and ask the girl out as soon as I've lost 50 pounds. I'll start the business when I feel safe to be seen. I'll start actually showing up on social media and promoting my offers when it is convenient, when I can fit it into my schedule because I'm working so much. So, going back to you for a moment, where are you negotiating with your power? Is it in your pricing? Is it in your visibility and how you're being seen? Is it in your boundaries? Are you staying firm with the boundaries you have for those that you love? Is it in that offer you keep refining instead of just launching? Her doesn't live here anymore, and maybe you do. So when I left corporate, honestly, it wasn't just like a feeling of losing a job or an identity. It ended up being a large mirror. I believe that God doesn't place anything in front of you that you're not meant to override. And so God was like, oh, you think you need this identity to be stable or to feel secure. Let me remove it so you can see what you're really made out of. And trust me, the resistance came up. I cried. I processed emotional anxiety. I panicked. And then I decided if I'm going to struggle, I'd rather struggle within my own calling, not building something for someone else. Because here's the thing, I was making millions of dollars in premium for someone else. And when I got over the wave of having to leave my corporate career, I realized if I could generate millions for you, doing something I'm not even passionate about, doing something that I feel like was soul sucking, if I'm being honest, because I was broken at a certain point. Why can't I do that for myself? So that decision, it ended up breaking a generational pattern because in my family, and I don't think I've shared this yet on the podcast, but my family is your typical immigrant family on both ends. So I'm half Armenian and half Egyptian, and both of my parents immigrated here from their respective countries. And my mom and my grandparents came here when my mother was 9, and my grandpa's whole wave of life that he wanted to create was the American dream. It was you work hard at a company for 20, 30, 40 years, and you go home, you buy a house, you provide for your children, and then you retire at home. There was no travel, there was no real dream outside of the white picket fence. And so the concept of having a business and the risks involved with it were scary. My mom grew up a single mom. Well, she didn't grow up a single mom, she was a single mom. And for her, she became an independent contractor, doing her thing to raise me. And I honor that because I saw hustle in full force. But it wasn't until I was in high school that she decided to really go out on her own and to be a business owner. My dad has been a combination of the two, but it was the same thing. He's been an employee, a manager at several high-end car firms, not high-end, but big car firms. And He was a business owner of sorts, from groceries to dealing cars to insurance. But for him, the roadmap was very concise. You come to the country of the United States, which I am so grateful I live here and I was born here. That's just a side tangent. But you come to the United States, you go to school, you get a job, then you build your business, and then you leave, lead your life teaching your kids the same thing. So it ended up being a generational pattern that I had to break. And it lit a fire under this coaching business. And the way I'm showing up, even on this podcast, because it finally made me realize that I had to tell God or the universe, whatever iteration you call it, I'm not playing small anymore. So, what does it actually take to stop playing small? Radical honesty about your patterns and your beliefs, surrounding yourself with expanders who don't let you shrink. I was very lucky that when my time in corporate ended, I was surrounded immediately with mentors and those who've done it to remind me, no, you don't have to go back to that. And while it was the scariest decision, it was the most freeing. And what was great about having the mentors and people in my life who are expanders, who didn't let me shrink, is I realized in that moment everything happened for a reason. So I started committing out loud, even when it was messy, and telling people I'm all in. I will get better at communicating this business. I will learn social media. I will show up. And I decided that fear is not getting the final word, that the uncertainty is worth the result. So it's not about having it all figured out. It's about moving while you're still in the process of becoming and embodying it. So here's your activation. I want you to go ahead and write down one area where you've been shrinking or playing small. Name it, own it, and choose to take a step forward today in expansion. And maybe it's for you sending a pitch, posting your offer, negotiating your salary with your boss, raising your price, booking a call, booking a vacation, saying the things you need to say but are too afraid to say it. Heart is not waiting, and neither should you. So if this episode hit home for you today, please go ahead and like and share it with a sister who needs it, or post your takeaways on Instagram and tag me at ARISE with Anita. And as a thank you, don't forget in the show notes, there is always a link to your free activation, ARISE Activation Workbook. Workbook. It's packed with reflection prompts to help you rise to your next level. And if you need it, like I did today, you are not broken. You are breaking through. I'll see you in the next episode. Let's rise.